At 6:18 on a gray March morning, a dented stock trailer came coughing up the road to the Kline place. Nora Kline was already standing at the gate, not because anybody had told her to be there that early, not because the animals were calm, and definitely not because the plan was finished. The plan was not finished. Inside that trailer were 154 goats from a failed brush clearing outfit near the Arkansas line. Thin goats. Horse goats. Pregnant goats. Goats with bad feet, rubbed coats, and enough noise between them to make the trailer sound alive before it even turned into the drive. Nora had bought the whole lot 2 days earlier. Across the road, Jasper Deal slowed his pickup almost to a stop. Jasper had farmed the next place for 22 years. He believed in gates that latched, fences that were checked twice, and decisions that made sense before money changed hands. He rolled down his window. "What are you going to do with that many goats?" Nora looked at the trailer. Then she looked at the rocky west ridge behind her barn, the part of the farm everybody called the dead ledge. "I'm going to see what they know." Jasper stared at her as though she had answered in another language. Then he said, "Goats don't know what your bank account knows." And he drove on. Then Nora did not argue with him. By 8 o'clock, she had 158 goats in the old sheep barn, because 4 kids had been born somewhere between the sale barn and her driveway. She wrote that down first. 154 purchased. 158 unloaded. For live kids. Weather cold. Herd stressed, but responsive. That was how Nora handled worry. She did not turn it into panic. She turned it into notes. The Kline farm sat on 186 acres in the Missouri Ozarks, where the ground could change its mind every 50 feet. The bottom ground along the creek could raise hay if the spring floods behaved. The upper ground could carry cattle in good years. But the west ridge was different. 31 acres of cedar, chert, limestone shells, thorny greenbrier, and thin soil that seemed to reject every practical idea anyone had ever brought to it. Nora's uncle had called it useless. Her Aunt Ruth had called it stubborn. The neighbors called it the dead ledge, because in August it went brown before the rest of the farm did, and in winter it held frost in its cracks long after the pastures thawed. Nora had inherited the farm from Ruth after working 15 years as a county soil technician. That mattered. She had spent those years walking other people's land, kneeling in other people's gullies, reading compaction, runoff, roots, slope, seepage, and failure. She had learned that bad land was often just land being asked the wrong question. The dead ledge had been asked for hay. It had said no. It had been asked for cattle. It had said no again. So Nora had bought goats. Not because goats were magic, because goats were honest. They ate what other animals ignored. They climbed where cattle damaged themselves. They tested brush, bark, leaves, cracks, shade, and water with a seriousness people often mistook for foolishness. And Nora had a ridge nobody else wanted to read. The first 10 days were not romantic. They were mud, medicine, foot trimming, hay dust, and the sour smell of animals that had been neglected too long. Dr. Aline Frost, the large animal vet from Ava, spent one full afternoon in the sheep barn with Nora, checking mouths, feet, lungs, and pregnancies. At the end of it, Aline leaned against a gate and watched the herd settle into fresh straw. "These goats are rough," she said, "but they're not ruined." Nora nodded. "That's what I thought. You bought them before you knew that for sure." "I bought them before I could prove it for sure." Aline gave her a long look. "That is not the same thing." "No," Nora said, "but it's close enough to start." By the second week of April, the goats were eating well, the worst feet were improving, and the west ridge was ready. Nora had spent 3 evenings walking the fence line. She flagged a down cedar. She tightened 2 corners. She cut an old coil of barbed wire out of a cedar root,
where an animal could have caught a leg. Then she walked the ridge itself. The air changed under the ledges. She noticed it before she understood it. On the south exposure, the April sun had warmed the rock. On the upper shelf, the cedars held still air and old needles. But along the north-facing cut, where a limestone wall disappeared behind sumac and greenbrier, the temperature dropped. Not dramatically, just enough. Nora put her hand against the rock. Cold. She pushed her fingers into the dark soil below it. Cooler. Not wet, not muddy, just cool in a steady way that did not feel like yesterday's weather. She wrote in her field book, West Ridge North Cut, soil at limestone base cooler than surrounding ground. No visible seep, heavy cedar shade. Retest after goats enter. The next morning she opened the ridge gate. The goats did not flood through in a wild wave. That surprised her. They moved in a line at first, noses low, ears switching, bodies tense with the sudden seriousness of animals entering a place they had already decided was worth investigating. The younger goats went straight for the greenbrier. A few climbed the lower limestone shelf and began stripping cedar tips. But the older does did something else. 7 of them broke away from the herd and walked directly toward the north cut. They did not wander. They did not browse. They went to the limestone wall, as if the ridge had been calling them before the gate ever opened. One doe stood out. She was black, with a gray muzzle, and one horn bent back shorter than the other, as if something years ago had broken it, and she had simply continued living around the damage. Nora had marked her in the barn records as Shorthorn. Shorthorn walked to the base of the limestone, pressed her nose into a mat of old leaves, and stood there. She did not eat. She did not paw. She smelled. The other older does circled the same stretch of rock. One licked the stone. Another pushed her muzzle into a crack where roots had grown over a flat shelf. Nora watched for 40 minutes before she wrote anything. Then she wrote, Older does concentrating and north cut. Shorthorn stationary at base of rock. Behavior investigative, not feeding. Repeat observation needed. The next day, they did it again. And the next. By the 4th day, Nora stopped calling it strange and started calling it a pattern. Patterns were the only things she trusted more than first impressions. On the 6th day, she crouched beside Shorthorn at the ledge. The goat did not move away. Nora pushed aside damp leaves, cedar needles, and old bits of limestone flake. Underneath was a flat stone edge. Not bedrock, an edge. Human-placed. It was too straight, too level, too deliberate. Nora scraped with her fingers until she uncovered 6 inches of it, then 8, then nearly a foot. The stone disappeared under roots and soil, but its line continued. Shorthorn stood close enough that her breath warmed Nora's sleeve. Nora put both palms on the exposed edge. The top of the stone was cold, but when she eased her fingers under the lip, a faint breath of cooler air touched her skin. Not wind, not shade, air coming from somewhere beneath the ledge. She stood slowly. That evening, after feeding, she went into Ruth's office. The room still smelled faintly of furniture polish, dust, and the peppermint candies Ruth used to keep in the desk drawer. Nora had gone through the papers after the funeral. Tax records, seed receipts, old plat maps, a stack of county fair ribbons nobody had thrown away. But one box remained under the desk, field notebooks. Ruth had kept them from 1969 until the year before she died. Not diaries, not quite ledgers. Farm weather, pasture notes, cattle behavior, water levels, hay yields, repairs. Things seen once and left for later. Nora pulled the 1980 notebook first. 1980 had been the year everyone still mentioned when dry summers came up. She found August. Ruth's handwriting was smaller than Nora remembered. August 3rd. Cows standing at West Ridge North cut in afternoon heat. Not eating. Facing the rock. Soil below ledge cold enough to feel through glove. Mama says there was once a spring box on that side, covered after the new well went in. No time to open brush this year. Nora read it twice, then a third time. No time to open brush this year. A drought had passed, the cattle had moved, the brush had grown thicker, the note had gone into a box, and the dead ledge had stayed dead in everyone's mouth for 44 more years. But Shorthorn had walked straight to the same place. Nora found another reference 3 pages later. August 19th, cows still favoring North Cut, temp difference measured with milk thermometer, 18 degrees cooler at ledge base than open pasture soil. Could be air pocket. Could be water. Leave marker at wild plum. The wild plum was gone now, the goats had found the marker Ruth could not keep in the ground. The next morning, Nora carried a soil probe, a shovel, a thermometer, and Ruth's notebook to the ridge. She did not dig. Not yet. If there was an old water structure under the ledge, careless digging could collapse it, damage it, or make it dangerous. So she probed. Most of the ridge answered the way rocky Ozark ground answers a probe. 2 inches of soil. Stone. 3 inches. Stone. At the place Shorthorn favored, the probe hit a flat surface 4 inches down. Nora shifted the angle. The probe scraped along stone, dropped suddenly, and stopped against something hollow. The feeling came up through her hand. Not a hole. Not a cave. A void. Small, square, and man-made enough to make the back of her neck tighten. She called the extension office from the barn. The agent, Wayne Sutter, listened without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "Do not put a tractor on it."
I wasn't going to. Good. Don't let anyone else put a tractor on it either. He gave her the name of a man in West Plains named Silas Morrow. Silas restored old spring boxes, hand-dug wells, stone drains, and the kind of forgotten farm waterworks that survived only because nobody modern had bothered them with machinery. He arrived 3 days later in a faded canvas jacket, carrying 2 probes, a mason's hammer, and a folding stool. He did not start with tools. He started by watching the goats. Shorthorn was already at the North Cut. The older does stood behind her, not crowding, not feeding, waiting in that unreadable animal way that made people feel either humbled or annoyed. Silas watched them for nearly 10 minutes. Then, he said, "They're not curious about rock." Nora said, "No.
They're interested in what's behind it." He knelt at the exposed flat edge and brushed it with his hand. "That is not natural bedding." He set one probe into the soil and pressed. The metal slid, caught, then dropped. Silas put his ear close to the second probe and tapped the first. He listened. Then he smiled, without looking happy about it. "There's stonework under here." Nora swallowed. "How old?" "Could be late 1800s. Could be early 1900s. People in these hills built spring boxes wherever limestone gave them a chance." He brushed away more soil. "If this is what I think it is, somebody caught a spring under the ledge, boxed it in stone, and ran the overflow downhill. Later, when a drilled well made life easier, they covered it or forgot how to find it." Nora looked at the ridge, at the cedars, at the greenbrier, at Shorthorn standing with her nose inches from the buried edge. "So the goats smelled water." Silas nodded, "or cool mineral air moving with it. Animals do not need a theory to be right." They opened the site by hand. Silas insisted on that. No skid steer, no loader bucket, no impatient neighbor with a chain. Hand tools, 1 layer at a time. Nora cut roots while Silas loosened soil. They worked the first Saturday until a rectangle of fitted limestone appeared under the leaves. The stones were not large, but they were placed with care, flat faces up, edges matched, slight slope toward the east. Whoever built it had not been decorating the ridge, they had been solving a problem. The second Saturday, Silas brought his nephew Eli,
who was young enough to work fast and careful enough not to be dangerous. They lifted the first course at noon. Beneath it was darkness. Then the smell came. Cold stone, old air, clean mineral water. Silas shined a light into the opening. The spring box was about 7 feet by 9 feet, built into the limestone seam with dry-laid walls that leaned inward just enough to hold themselves under weight. The north wall was natural rock. At its base, water moved through a narrow crack and spread across the stone floor in a thin silver sheet. On the east side, a stone-lined overflow channel disappeared under packed soil.
Blocked, but not destroyed.
Silas sat back on his heels. "Well," he said quietly, "there's your dead ledge." Nora looked down into the dark box. For a moment, she did not think about pasture, or goats, or money. She thought about the hands that had built it. Somebody had cut cedar, moved stone, opened limestone, crouched in the same cold air and listened to the same water. Somebody had trusted the seep enough to build around it. Then time had buried the work until only animals still cared where it was. Shorthorn pushed her muzzle toward the opening. Silas held out one arm to keep her back. "She knew," Nora said. Silas shook his head. "She smelled. You knew what to do with the smelling." That line stayed with Nora longer than she expected. The water test came back clean. Not perfect household water clean, because nobody sane would put an old spring box straight into a kitchen line without more work. But for livestock, with a covered collection point and a protected trough line, it was good water. Calcium, magnesium, low nitrates, no bacterial problem after the box was cleared and sealed. The flow was not dramatic. It averaged a little over 0.6 of a gallon a minute across 3 measurements. That did not sound impressive until Nora put it on paper. 36 gallons an hour. 864 gallons a day if the flow held. Enough to carry a managed goat rotation through the ridge without hauling water every evening from the lower barn. On a farm, usefulness often does not announce itself loudly. Sometimes it drips. Silas and Eli cleared the overflow channel over 2 more visits. The channel ran 40 yards downslope, hidden under silt, roots, and old leaves. It had been lined with flat stone, just wide enough to move excess water away from the box, so pressure would not build and break the walls. Simple engineering, quiet engineering, the kind nobody praised when it worked. Because when it worked, nothing dramatic happened. The box filled, the overflow ran, the walls held, the animals drank. Nora capped the spring box with a hinged protective cover, Silas built from treated lumber, and a metal grate under the lid, so no animal could fall in when it was open for inspection. She ran a short gravity line to a low trough set below the ledge. The first time water entered that trough, the goats did not rush it. They approached in the same order they had approached the ledge. Shorthorn first, then the older does, then the younger animals, careless and jostling because youth has never respected ceremony. Shorthorn drank for a long time. Nora stood with one hand on the trough and watched a source of water nobody alive had used become ordinary again. Jasper Deal came by in May. He did not mean to stop, at least that was what he said later. But the ridge was visible from the road now because the goats had opened the lower brush. The cedar trunks showed, the limestone shelf showed, and near the north cut, a new trough sat where nobody had ever seen one before. Jasper pulled over and climbed out. Nora was walking the fence with a pair of pliers in her back pocket. He pointed toward the ledge.
"What did you put up there?" "A cover." "For what?" "A spring box." Jasper looked at her. "In the dead ledge." "Yes. There's a spring in the dead ledge. There's been a spring in the dead ledge longer than either of us has been alive." He looked toward the goats. They were spread across the slope, not as a mess, but as a working herd, eating cedar tips, opening greenbrier, moving through rock where cattle would have broken fence or legs. How did you find it? Nora could have said Ruth's notebooks. She could have said the temperature readings. She could have said the probe or the stone edge or Silas Morrow. All of that was true, but none of it was where the finding began. The goats kept going to it. Jasper's face shifted. Not disbelief, exactly.
More the discomfort of a man having to move a thing from one category to another.
And you follow goats. I followed a pattern. He looked back at the ridge. Then he said quieter than before, I always thought that place was just wasted ground. Nora did not correct him. She had thought it too, in the beginning. That was the dangerous thing about land everyone dismisses. After enough years, even the people who own it start using the same words. By June, the county historical office sent a woman named Mara Ellison to document the spring box. Silas had urged Nora to file the record. Not for you, he said. For whoever owns this place when you are gone. Mara measured the box, photographed the stonework, and traced the overflow channel on a copy of the old plat.
The original homestead claim had belonged to the Adlers, a German-speaking family who settled the farm in 1892 and lost it during the hard years after the First World War. Mara studied the corbelled corner, where the wall tucked inward with patient precision. This was built by somebody who expected grandchildren to use it, she said. Nora looked at the goats drinking below the ledge. Grandchildren didn't. Goats did. Mara smiled. That may be the best note in the file. But Nora knew the line was not funny in the way people wanted it to be. It was funny because it was true. And it was sad because it was true. People had built a water system meant to last. Then another system arrive. A drilled well. A pump. Pipe. Convenience. The old spring box became backup, then memory, then rumor, then brush, then nothing. Except it never became nothing to the land. Water kept moving through limestone. Cold air kept breathing through cracks. The ridge kept holding its answer under roots. And every animal with enough reason to listen had found its way there. Ruth's cattle in 1980. Nora's goats in April. Shorthorn first among them. Standing at the buried edge like a witness nobody had asked to speak. Summer tested the whole idea. July turned bright and punishing. The lower creek shrank into disconnected pools by the third week. Neighbors began hauling water to back pastures. Nora hauled none to the west ridge. She managed the rotation tightly. No more animals in that section than the spring could support. No muddy crowding at the trough. No damage around the box. Weekly inspection. Flow notes every Friday. The average flow dropped slightly in the hottest stretch, but it held. 500 to 700 usable gallons a day, depending on the week. Enough. That word mattered more than impressive. Enough water. Enough browse. Enough shade. Enough time. The goats that had come off the trailer with ribs showing now moved like animals with choices. Their coats slicked down, their feet hardened. The kids born on the trailer began climbing the same shelves their mothers had claimed in spring. Nora sold 42 head in September and covered the purchase price, the early feed, the vet work, and most of the fencing repairs. She kept the best does. She kept Shorthorn. Economically, Shorthorn was not the obvious animal to keep. She was older. Her horn was damaged. Her production years were limited. But Nora had stopped trying to put her into an ordinary column. Some animals earn their place without fitting the form. In October, Aline Frost came back for a herd check. She found better body condition, fewer foot issues, and a farmer who looked less like she was bracing for disaster every morning. Afterward, they drank coffee on the porch. Aline pointed her mug toward the ridge. So the goats paid for themselves and found water. They showed me where to look. Most people would have missed that. Most people are busy. Aline nodded. That's true. Busy people miss quiet things. Nora looked toward the west ridge,
where the evening light laid itself across limestone in long pale strips.
My aunt wrote it down in 1980, she said. Cattle standing there. Soil colder than pasture. Possible spring. No time to open brush. Aline was quiet. Then she said, and she kept the notebook. Yes. And you kept reading. Yes. And the goat kept standing there until the rest of you caught up. Nora laughed once. Not because it was light, because it was exact. That fall, the dead ledge changed names without anyone making a formal decision. Jasper was the first to say it differently. He called from the road one evening while Nora was closing the gate. You moving the herd off Spring Ridge tomorrow? Nora stopped with the chain in her hand. Spring Ridge. Not Dead Ledge. She looked at Jasper. He looked embarrassed, as if he had revealed something he had not meant to show. Nora latched the gate. Day after tomorrow, she said. The name held. By November, even Wayne at the extension office used it that way. Spring Ridge. A piece of land can carry the wrong name for a long time. Then one fact can change the whole sentence. On the last warm afternoon before frost, Nora walked the ridge alone. The goats were in the lower lot. The spring box cover was shut, the trough full, the overflow running quietly under the stone channel Silas had cleared. She brought Ruth's 1980 notebook with her and sat in the limestone above the north cut. The old entry had become soft along the crease from how many times she had opened it. Cows standing at West Ridge North Cut, not eating. Facing the rock. Nora ran her thumb under the line. Ruth had noticed. Ruth had measured. Ruth had written it down. Then life had taken the rest of the day. That was not failure. That was farming. There was always a fence down somewhere. Always weather coming. Always an animal coughing. Always a bill, a pump, a storm, a gate, a field. A season closing faster than the body could move. The writing a thing down was a kind of faith. It meant you believed a future day might have more room than the day you were standing in. It meant you believed someone, even if it was not you, might come back with time, tools, and the right question. Nora opened her own field book. She wrote, Spring Ridge. Old spring box restored. Flow holding after dry summer. Goat herd adapted well. Shorthorn healthy. Ruth's 1980 observation confirmed. Register filed with county. She paused with the pen over the page. Then she added one more line. Animals found the question before people found the answer. Below her, water moved through limestone the way it had before the Klines. Before Ruth, before Nora, before a neighbor had ever called the ridge dead. It had never stopped. It had only disappeared from the human version of the farm. The goats did not discover a miracle. They did not create value where none existed. They did something harder, to respect because it was quieter. They paid attention to what was already there. Nora closed the notebook and held it against her knee. Across the ridge, Shorthorn lifted her head from the far fence line, ears forward, body still. For a moment, woman and goat looked at the same ground from opposite sides of understanding. One with records, one with scent, both standing over water. The ridge had not been empty, it had only been written in a language people had stopped reading.